All right, everyone. I'm going to keep admitting people as we go, but let me start with my preamble. Welcome to the November 12th, 2025 Nevada Law webinar hosted by the Nevada Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyors. And just as a reminder, in case you didn't read the advertisement, by attending today's webinar, licensees will fulfill the PDH requirement for 1 hour to review NRS and NAC Chapter 625 for license renewal. And that's an important thing to remember. That's an important thing to remember because it is required for license renewal. Now, all of you folks are here, so I think you got the memo on that, but I also field a lot of calls with people who are completely unaware of that fact. So good on you for understanding that, or at least reading the memos that we send out. I think a lot of you this may not be your first rodeo. So you've done this before. For those of you who are new to this, who are attending for the first time, we keep it limited to 500 people. We have never gone over the 500 threshold. So I think we're in good shape. I don't think anybody's going to get left out. But we keep it to 500. We're keeping everyone muted. That's just because it becomes a cacophony of voices, and it's just impossible to distinguish anything. These type of events would typically be done in person, or in some kind of seminar. That seemed to end with COVID, so we do these things by Zoom now. If you have questions during the presentation, I'm going to put my email up here shortly. Email them to me if you would, rather than using chat. At the end, we'll try to field a few questions. I don't know if you can hear the siren, but we'll field a few questions at the end, and we might use chat for that. But in the meantime, just keep your questions, write them down, whatever, and send them to me via email, and I'll get you a more comprehensive, thorough answer that way. All of you, or most of you, will have questions about how you document your participation in this webinar. It's a longer answer. I will explain it a little bit later towards the end of the presentation. But in a nutshell, it's the honor system. Your participation in this is strictly that you say you did it. And that's all we're looking for. So when you renew on your license application and you count up all your PDHs, all you have to do is report that, yes, I fulfilled the 1 hour of Nevada law and 2 hours of ethics. So as long as you report that, that's fine. Although I will provide a certificate towards the end as well. For those of you who like to have a physical certificate proving that you attended, I'll have that available as well. So I think, yeah, all right, I won't go on. I'll save that for later. Let me get started. Let's introduce our presenter, Ed. Ed McGuire is a retired city engineer for the city of Henderson in Nevada. He currently handles professional standards for the board, which entails interpreting and applying Nevada law as it pertains to compliance investigations. His expertise affords him a unique understanding of Nevada laws, which is the subject of today's webinar. Oh, I know what I was going to say. We're gonna do, for those of you who've done this before, we're gonna try something a little bit different. We try to keep the content fresh and different every time. Laws change. We obviously, as the board, we stay on top of that. So anything that's new, we'll let you know about, and Ed he'll highlight some of those things. But we're also going to try something a little different, and I'll let Ed surprise you with that when we get to that part of the presentation. So Ed, take it away.
All right, thank you, Derek. And we're maxed out. We have 500 attendees. I think we are maxed out with the Zoom account, so we'll get started. If you have any coworkers or friends that are engineers or surveyors and they couldn't get in, remind them they can watch this video later. We'll have it posted. They can also watch the video from 6 months ago if they feel like they need to watch it ASAP. Or you can read a book or do self-study. There's other ways to get your Nevada law hour out of the way, but with that, let's jump ahead. So As Derek said, Nevada Law Seminar. This is 1 hour to satisfy the licensee requirements. All right, here's our current board. Brent Wright, professional engineer and structural engineer, is the current board chair, and Matt Gendrich, professional land surveyor, is vice chair. As a quick reminder, board meets monthly. They have a short meeting 1 month and then the long meeting with full discussion the following. The short meeting is just for business items and registrants to get them approved. We just had a full board meeting last week up in Reno. We alternate between Las Vegas and Reno generally. As a reminder, the purpose and mission of the board, and I'm going to read the first sentence. The purpose of the board, as stated in NRS, Nevada Revised Statute 625.005, is to safeguard life, health, and property and to promote the public welfare. That is a reoccurring theme in both the law and the ethics presentation. It's why we do this and why we have licensure, frankly. All right. Board staff puts out the Nevada Connection. That's our newsletter at least twice annually. There are other emails, lots of social media posts. There's other news that goes out from time to time, but we do the newsletter electronically now at least twice a year. And then we stay up with the continuing education requirements, the first one being 1 hour on Nevada laws and regulations. That's today. We do this every spring and fall for anyone renewing. And tomorrow, if you need the ethics, 2 hours, tomorrow we have the 2 hour on ethics. Again, we do that in the spring and fall to comply with NAC 625.430, or for you to comply, or for us to comply. I have to renew as well this period. All right, bonus content. It's quiz time.
This is the part where I was saying it's the surprise is because it's a Zoom call, we don't have a lot of participation, two-way participation. So we're going to try something new this time with the quiz. So to make sure that you're paying attention. So
All right. Everyone should see a quiz on Nevada law. There's 3 really difficult questions. Go ahead and take that quiz. I'll give you a minute or two. Oh, look at them go. Half of you have responded thus far. I can see the count go up. And it looks like a small number of you are going to have to take this a second time.
I don't think it gives you a way to change your answer once you've it would be nice, right? Kim, I'm just going to respond to you since your chat message just flashed up. I just doing my troubleshooting with Zoom as we implemented this quiz. You need to make sure that you have the most recent version of Zoom, the Zoom client. If you're on your computer, mobile device, I'm not sure. Either one, you may have to go to Zoom.
Derek, what's the question?
Well, her question is she couldn't see the quiz.
Okay.
So
all right, that's okay. We are static at 461 participants. And so, yeah, I'm 462. I'm guessing there's old versions out there, or you're on a cell phone or something, and you're not seeing the quiz. That's okay. We're not grading this. First question, what does NRS stand for? We have a couple of, looks like safety people in the audience. 4% said that Nevada required safety. Second answer, Nevada Revised Statute. The correct answer is, in this case, it stands for Nevada Revised Statutes. And 2 of you said the National Realtor Society, which is also a correct answer. You're just in the wrong seminar. Number 2, what does NAC stand for? They get harder. The Nuclear Administration Council. We have 4 of you. Again, you're in the wrong seminar. Unless you are a licensed nuclear engineer. National Advisory Committee, 29 of you fell for that one. We made that one up. And 93% got Nevada Administrative Code, the correct answer. So the two things that we follow are Nevada Administrative Code and Nevada Revised Statutes. And then what's the best movie ever? This is the hardest one. A couple of you got this wrong. I think it's a trick question. It's all of the above, but Star Wars has 53%. So I'll accept that.
Yep.
Coming in second place, a distant second place, is Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail at 28%. And only Jaws 1 only got 4%. They just released remastered Jaws in high definition video, the 50th anniversary. So thanks for your participation.
I think you need to end the poll so that they can see the results. Yeah.
Can you guys see?
No.
Can you see results?
You got to click share results now.
Share results. This is the first time we've done this.
Yep. There you go. So now all of you can see the results.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay. This is the first time we've done this, so
yeah,
bear with us. We're newbies.
All right. The important thing was that we got audience participation. So thank you so much. I will stop sharing and move on. So you should now be seeing our handbook. Is everyone seeing that?
I think so, yeah.
If you, the most up-to-date versions of NRS and NAC are on our website, but we do have, at no additional cost to you, your dues pay for this. We have paper copies available. If you email board staff, there's a link on our website. You can get a paper copy. It's convenient. You can put tabs in it and whatnot. But remember, when there are, and we are going to talk about some of the latest revisions, and you'll see what I mean. Revisions approved 6 months ago during the legislature still are not on the state's website in some cases, nor are they in the published booklet, which was last updated in 2022. So it takes a while to get both to the web and to the print, but we will always put them on our website as soon as they are updated or approved. NRS is approved by the legislature, NAC by state staff. The what's the name of the group? It's the Legislative Council Bureau.
Yeah.
Takes care of the NAC stuff. So remember, NRS, the statutes are the law. Violation of the statute is generally a misdemeanor unless it is identified as a higher violation. NAC is the rules, administrative code. That's the rules that spell out in more detail the whys and the whats and add detail to a statute. So, all right. Remember, Nevada, we license by discipline. So when you apply, these are the current disciplines available. And as NCEES or as applicants desire a different area, those are considered by the board. We either adopt NCEES recommendations as they create new exams, or we can have a specific type if it was warranted in Nevada. And there's a couple that have come up. Entertainment engineering, that's a real big deal in Nevada with the shows and the design, the mechanical and physical and electrical systems and the people involved. Yeah, and control systems. And lately, a lot of talk about artificial intelligence and how that may be regulated in the future. That I hope will never be a license type so that a non-human gets a license, but you never know what the future will bring. This is important mostly for those that at some point practice outside their area of expertise, because with a discipline comes a presumed expertise, and it is a common complaint. You know, I got a proposal to do some work, and I'm not sure this person can do the work.
I think you gotta advance a slide, Ed. There you go.
Okay. So this is the definition 625-520 of unlawful practice. That person's not properly licensed, as in they don't have a license and they are marketing or offering engineering. We do see that from time to time. And then those that practice engineering without a license. We've had a few licensees with suspended licenses or licenses not renewed that have continued to practice, sometimes on accident, sometimes on purpose. And then those that are misleading. Currently, one of the biggest problems in the industry are the gig employment sites. Work for hire online. They're quite often international sites, and you can find all kinds of services. Some of them perfectly fine. If you want a logo for your company or a rendering of a kitchen remodel, there's some really talented graphic artists and that sort of things. You can find all these things. Where we see problems are where people say, I would like to get construction documents, and they see things like for $65 a sheet, you can have fully engineered plans emailed to you. Be very cautious. Generally, those are bootleg seals or non-existent engineers. And we've seen a few of those. It's an ongoing problem in all 50 states. We coordinate with the investigation and enforcement in other states, and this is a common topic that someone's seal from another state has been copied, and we just got a complaint that a full-on digital seal was submitted to one of the counties in Nevada that appears to be properly digitally signed and sealed, and but it didn't come from the actual engineer, and the county figured it out and rejected it, but it was only after plan check and review. They were well into the process, and so the client is harmed to some extent because they believe they've paid a licensed engineer, and it was all fake. So be aware that happens. If someone calls to verify your license number and your expiration date, you can be assured it's not the state board, and you should be cautious sharing all this information with unknown parties. So I won't belabor that, but next slide. 625-520 unlawful practice continued. We can issue a cease and desist. That's just a letter from the board or the board staff that says you can't do that, and here's why. It can go to a person or a firm. The next step up is district court issues an injunction. That's obviously a bigger step. We have a contract attorney, so we would work through our attorney who would work through the court to get an injunction. We have a situation like that right now, a repeat violator practicing without a license. Their license has been suspended. They did not renew. They said they weren't practicing, and another set of plans showed up. So they will likely get an injunction. 625, 610, being in responsible charge. This is another one when you are the person that seals and signs a map or a set of plans or a study. It doesn't mean you produced everything on those plans. You quite often will employ draftspeople and technicians to help with studies and the drafting. But at the end of the day, you're in responsible charge. And that means it's under your purview, and you're going to review that work and make sure that everything is up to code and acceptable before you seal it and sign it. And this is a difficult spot for some people. If you work for a big firm and someone else makes the schedule and decides what your priorities, excuse me, what your priorities are. I've seen situations where an engineer was put in a difficult spot, to seal documents. They knew everything about part of the job, but they didn't know anything about part of the job. And someone else in the firm produced the work. And so anyway, be cognizant of that requirement. Any errors or omissions are yours. You need to own that if you seal those plans. So do not let them be sealed without your oversight and your knowledge. Land surveyors commonly use a field crew. There's a lot of surveyors that work out in the field, and there's a lot of surveyors that work in the office. And often the maps are stamped by the surveyor in the office, and that data is collected by someone else. So make sure that you've reviewed the data and you believe it's correct before you apply your seal and your signature. All right, professional engineers versus structural engineers. Because we are discipline specific, civils can do smaller structures and non-critical structures, and I'll leave the definition up here, but the simple thing to remember is 3 stories and 45 feet. If it's over 45 feet or it's over 3 stories, a civil cannot seal it. It needs to go to a structural engineer, and then there's some more specifics in the law. If you practice in this area often, you probably know this very well. But every once in a while, it's common. Scope creep is a common problem, right? You get a job, you define the scope, and then the client says, well, as long as you're at it, I need something else. And scope creep is a common way to get a complaint lodged. If it's really outside your expertise, say that and say, you know, I think I should recommend someone or coordinate with someone else, because it gets figured out too often. You get into an area where you're not an expertise, and either the client or the entity that is issuing permits is disappointed, and we hear about it. So be cognizant of that. Written contract. This is a common violation of the law, or actually of the code. It's NAC 625-545, and it's very simple. There's only 4 elements required for a written contract for engineering or surveying. And it says shall. You shall enter into a written contract, meaning you must. It's the requirement. If there's engineering or surveying involved, but you only need to include 4 things: the scope of the work, the cost for that work, and you can see the revisions here because they're not all on the website yet, and this has been more than 6 months, but we changed it from the date of completion to a schedule. So I have an example, because a lot of people go, how do you describe this? You know, it's nebulous. I don't know when I'll get the plans. I don't know when I'll get comments from the entity. I suggest you say something like, I will make the first submittal in X amount of days after authorization. So if it's going to a public entity, put down the things you can control. When you give me either a down payment or an authorization, 30 days later, I'll make a submittal. And then I will respond to comments within blank days, 30 days, 45 days, 10 days, whatever you think is appropriate for the job. And so it outlines in the new statute, the stuff in blue has been approved, indicate the time and sequence. So you can say, I see this as 3 distinct parts: a first submittal, answer comments, and a final submittal, or whatever that is. And they each take approximately 30 days. Because complaints are commonly, I have an agreement with an engineer or surveyor, and it took too long. And then I say, can I see the agreement? And the agreement has no time frame. So we do have a violation of NAC, but do we really have bad engineering? You know, and I say, how long was it supposed to take? Well, they said 2 months, but I think that's too much time. It's been 2 weeks. You know, I don't think 2 weeks is excessive, but if you don't define it, it's left open as to what's excessive, what's too long, what's non-responsive. So always indicate an amount of time. You are obligated, the second item there, number 2, disclose whether you have liability insurance, professional liability. You don't have to in Nevada, but you have to describe whether you have it or you do not have it. So I see a lot of agreements that say, I do not, but if you require it, it's available at an extra cost. You can make it available through your insurance company, and they pay the actual premium for that. Depending on the work, it can be very expensive. So very simple. It needs to be in writing. I see people that do business with text message. It's technically in writing. Make sure you got the 4 elements. When you get to the office, either email them a follow-up or save all the screenshots and make them into a Word document, because it needs to be retained, you know, at least through the project. And I think in NAC, you've got to retain agreements for 3 years after the project's complete. Don't quote me on the 3 years, but I know there's a retention requirement in there for private industry, and it's probably longer if you work for a government entity, but you're probably not doing business with a text message. But anyway, common problem. And I wouldn't recommend discipline for someone simply because they did some business with a text message, but what was the intent, and did they comply with everything else if you're going to do it via text message? So it's common for for real estate inspections and things like that. It's a very simple scope, and we quite often don't have full written contracts. So be aware that can bite you in the bum when you least expect it. NRS 625530, acting as a faithful agent. So the statute doesn't define what faithful agent is, but lots of professional organizations and the court has defined. And there are a number of, whoops, I'm sorry. I somehow forwarded on accident. So if you look up faithful agent, the legal definition talks about financial responsibility and conflict of interest, but it also says, taking care of your client's wishes in lay terms. Call them back if they have questions. I know it takes time out of your busy schedule when the question is, how long is this going to take? And you say, well, it's going to take longer if I have to keep answering your questions, but that's the reality. You need to manage that expectation or promise a weekly status update or something like that. But that is a common gripe that gets sent to the board staff. Okay, a little more specific, and it's interesting. This statute only applies to surveyors, but it's about entry on private land. If you are looking for infrastructure, including monumentation, you can't be denied access if there is, monumentation and buried infrastructure. If there is an easement, in the case of monuments, there's no easement. That is a piece of public infrastructure. The monument benefits all. So that monument, if it's a property corner, the neighboring property has just as much a right to access to that as you do. But surveyors must send written notice. So quite often it goes unresponded to. Provide notice. The statute says hopefully they respond agreeably, but the reality is oftentimes you don't get a response, but make sure that there is written notice, not just I told them we were coming back. Put something in writing, because often there's a little bit of remorse after agreeing to something when you find out that your fence is not on the property line. Some folks are a little bit vindictive about they didn't get proper notice and they accessed my land. And anyway, be sensitive to that. It's private property right. But you also, as a surveyor, you do have rights to get to those monuments. All right, 625, 680, professional land surveyors. I would suggest this applies for professional engineers as well, but it's very specific to surveyors. When you find a disagreement, a material disagreement over location of a monument, and the position that it occupies, it says you shall contact the other land surveyor, meaning the one that placed it. And in some cases, if it's a really old monument, you can't find them. They're no longer alive. There's a number of possibilities, but we see complaints because someone recorded a record of survey of what they found and they disagree with the neighboring survey. So it's okay to disagree, but before you take any action, please attempt to contact. It's a simple step. You don't have to go to the end of the earth. You don't have to hire a private investigator or anything. You just need to attempt at the last known, their last known firm, or call board staff and get their email and phone number. We have them all if they're registered properly and renewed. We have all their contact information. So not hard to do. Agency submittals. So this used to say, it was basically the 3 strikes rule. If you submitted to a government entity 3 times, it said you shall report them to the state board. We found that most public entities don't, as a matter, just send everything to a state board that they've seen 3 times. I worked for City of Henderson for 30 years. I can promise you Henderson did not send everything that got more than 3 sets of comments. In many cases, it's a big, complicated project, and there's no way it's going to be completely reviewed that quickly with other changes. Now it says excessive. How is it worded? Causes a concern regarding competency or submittal. I think there's more to this. And now it says excessive. Oh, sorry, it's not on that slide. We changed the code, and it's excessive reviews. So if it's a really simple submittal and it's not approved in 2 reviews, if you think they're lacking competency, it could be reported to the state board. So we've had very simple, a number of government entities said that's their internal policy is excessive, not 3. So excessive might be 4 and it might be 2, depending on the question. If you're not getting straight answers. All right. Derek covered some of this. Ethics, PDHs also required. That is tomorrow. And then audits. We are back to doing audits. There was a pause during COVID for a couple of years, and the year after we waived requirements for people that weren't able to go to seminars. That's why all these are available online and recorded now, and self-study is acceptable. We are auditing at least 100 renewals each cycle. And my coworker, Steve Heiner, he's taught these classes in the past. He's doing the audits these days. So I'm teaching the classes. But like Derek said, you're basically on the honor system. We always have been. Nevada is save those receipts in case you're audited. All you have to do is say, yes, I got my 30 hours and I do have law and ethics. And then if you're audited, you'll be asked to supply some information or a statement or a receipt or whatever you saved. So,
Well, I always recommend, sorry to interrupt, Ed. I
yep,
just,
go ahead.
because I get this question a lot on phone calls. Use your NCEES record. Now, for some of the folks that are a little bit older, they're not as familiar with NCES. Younger folks, absolutely. There's a CPC area in your NCS record that allows
Right.
you to store your records. Older folks, keep an Excel spreadsheet, keep a Word doc, keep a folder, but put all your receipts and all of your documentation in that. So you do need to keep your own records if you're audited. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. So I save, I'll like print an email for this seminar and I'll write a couple of notes on it. What did I learn? Was there a substitute instructor? Sometimes it says so-and-so is going to teach the class. It's someone different. Write it down. That's too obvious if you can't remember who taught the class. It's like, did you even go? So I just save a few notes, put them in a file. I'm the old school, Derek. I have them in a manila folder annually. So I'll jump to the next one. Continuing education. This is our requirement, NAC in Nevada. 30 PDHs within the renewal period. That's a 2-year renewal period. 2 hours on ethics, 1 hour on rules and regulations. And 15 more hours can be carried forward. And then there are exceptions. Recent licensees. If you were licensed in that last 2-year period and your name came up, you don't have to go through the audit process. Active duty military, meaning active duty more than 120 days in that period or employed outside of the US for 120 days. Be careful on the employed outside the US. We've got folks that work all over the world. And if you are in a Nevada office and you also have Nevada work, don't claim an exemption when you're here working. The exemption is for those that are Nevada licensees that have a mailing address in Nevada, but they've been assigned overseas for more than the 120 days, and it puts them in a bind. Though I would argue there is no bind anymore because there's self-study and there's internet classes everywhere. You can watch this tape recorded. You don't even have to get up if you're in a different time zone. You can watch this after it's recorded. So, but there's some exceptions if you need to take advantage of those. Okay, here is the definition of continuing education. An activity to maintain, improve, or expand the skills, knowledge relevant to his or her discipline. So, whoops. I did that again with the mouse. I'm sorry. Per 4.480, just about anything counts. That's not the legal term, but if it furthers your career, and this is my favorite example. This came up years ago when PDHs were new, and we had a different attorney at the time, but I think he was the guest speaker at ASCE, and he was talking about the legal requirement and the review. And he said we had a surveyor. He submitted cold weather survival skills. And they said, what does that have to do with surveying? It was like 4 hours on cold weather survival skills. And he said, I'm the county surveyor in Elko. And if you've ever lived through an Elko winter and had to go out and verify a monument or a fence line or something as your normal line of work, and a snowstorm blows in, you'll know why you need cold weather survival skills. And they said, you know what, that's a really good example. That would count because it became key to your, 4 months of your work year. It became potentially a life or death skill set. So that was acceptable. Now here's an example that could have been acceptable. We have a local engineer, a Nevada engineer, and he's got a big client in Germany. And they did some work for this client in Germany. And then the next renewal period, we found this out after the fact. We found that part after the fact. In the renewal period, he put, I am taking German language, and he got audited. So Steve called him up and said, tell me more. You have a client in Germany. He said, I did. And I found it interesting. We couldn't communicate very well, so I'm taking German. And he said, is it an ongoing project, or are you looking for more work in Germany? He said, no, it was a one-time thing. He said, well, then learning German, just because you're interested doesn't count, but learning German because it's part of your ongoing operation would. So think about that when you're looking for PDH opportunities. If it furthers your career and it's ongoing part of your work, it should count.
Hey, Ed, I'm just giving you a time check.
Yeah,
You're
now
at
we're good.
12,
We're
you're good? Just letting you know.
Halfway, yeah, because we're more than halfway through the slides, and the last couple
Yeah.
of them are kind of static. So, more on continuing education. If you fail to complete before renewal, all is not lost. You can continue to practice. You have 6 months to catch up. So, your license will be put on inactive if it's flagged, and you do not click, I have my 30 hours, or law or ethics. You have 6 months to catch up. So don't panic. It's November. We've got the rest of November and all of December, but if there's a problem there, there is a window of opportunity. I always suggest you self-report. If you know you have a problem, call the office, talk to Derek, or email, the generic board at nvbpels.nv.gov and say, I have a problem. I'm in the hospital, whatever it is. Doctor said I'm not allowed to think about engineering for 30 days because of my brain surgery. Whatever you've got going on in your life, and let us know, and we'll flag that, and you'll have that 6 months to catch up. And then the audit period, and I think we've talked about all this already. So here's some interesting statistics. We've done 3 renewal periods with audits. This is out of 100, so it's basically a percentage or a number, but this is Steve's report back. He's been keeping track. About 60% compliant on first review out of that 100. About a quarter of the respondents are using the NCEES CPC. If you load everything in there and you give Steve permission, it takes about 5 seconds to confirm all this stuff. So it really is effective. It's super effective if you're licensed in multiple states because you put it all in one place and you can create that report for any state. Basically every state uses the NCEES platform. Scary, a small number, well, actually a pretty big number, 17 out of 100 last go around were unaware of the ethics and the rules and regulation requirement, and these are not new requirements. GWIS information, largest number of PDHs reported in one period was 137. The guy has an interesting job. And so once his job starts, he is there to monitor things as a professional engineer. So he goes online and does an online class once or twice a week. So 137 PDHs. Small number reported is unacceptable, very small number. And remember, rule ethics and rules and regulations don't carry forward. They have to be earned during the renewal period, not because ethics changes, but because the law changes. So we will always present the latest version of NRS and NAC and any changes with the seminar. Okay, as one of the things that came out of discussion with the industry and frankly some complaints to the board staff were plan submittals and review comments, and we realized we all share in this. Entities need to be thorough and complete, and submittals need to be thorough and complete as well. And so we put together a quality of plan submittal best guideline or best practice guide. This is not a regulatory manual, but is information search, best available information, and we had input from basically every entity that was willing to participate. We had quite a few entities and a number of consulting firms and Southern Nevada home builders and Truckee Meadows Water. So we had very broad input, and it's available on our website for your review. I hope it proves helpful. And then digital signatures. This still causes some headaches. We have a guide on the website. Last year, we went through the guide. The guide came out during COVID, so it's about 5 years old. We went through the guide to make sure it was still best available technology. The advice is still good. It is now a requirement. It's in code. If you're going to submit electronically, you need to use a digital signature. We continue to talk to a few entities in Nevada that say, well, we accept electronic, but they're simply a scan. We don't verify signatures. We don't check any digital. We don't look at metadata. A couple of them have changed after they discovered problems, and we're supportive of that. We have the guide, and we've also, in the last year, we produced a how-to video. When they were produced, they were the most current version of Adobe and Bluebeam. So both of those are on our webpage. They walk you through step-by-step YouTube video on how to seal, how to create your signature. The two most popular packages are Adobe and Bluebeam, and it satisfies most of the entities and most of the users. So anyway, that information is available out there to not to prevent, but certainly to make it more difficult to misuse seal fraudulently, because we continue to seal fake seals and mostly from these online gig sites. Excuse me. Let's see here. There's where it is. There's a little drop down. Click on that. You can see it on the screen. And then finally, we'll quickly go through the regulations and the things adopted in this renewal period, basically. So August 2025. There was a lot of survey stuff. These all had public hearings. If you're a surveyor, you should have received notice of the public hearing. There were a number of meetings prior to the public hearing. This was a lot of housekeeping, clarifications, amending requirements, simplifying. There were multiple standards depending on the class of survey and the location, and so there's some cleanup work there. There were a number of deletions as well. The deletions in red repealed some requirements that were duplicative or out of date. So I won't read through all these, but because it's mostly cleanup, but
They are on the website.
yeah,
however.
and this entire list is on our website. If any of these specifically apply to you for retired inactive status, and the requirement to move back to active status. Oh, sorry. And those were June of 2024. The first were August of 2025. So this is ongoing. It takes months and months and months to get to the Legislative Council Bureau and get these drafted and get them reviewed and then have a public hearing and then have them approved. So these, like Derek said, these are all on the website because they won't appear in the book yet. And when there's a legislative session, and there is in the odd years this year, there is always a backlog of things that get published. And Board of Professional Engineers and Land Surveyor stuff is generally not at the top of the pile. So they work through that. The state staff works through that.
One thing I would add, Ed, sorry,
Sure,
is
go
that
ahead.
those, so on our website, when you see the statutes and regulations on our website, that links directly back to nevada.gov. So that is exactly the most updated current version according to the legislature. So
Yes, and be careful if you go straight to NRS. Sometimes you get the as published old version, which is what's in the book. If you go to the website, that link takes you to the legislature's latest work. So even if it hasn't been published on the website, you'll get the most current version. So it's a challenge for us because there's two versions of a lot of these out there. The one that's published on the web, the static content that says NRS 625 and NAC 625, and then and we have a good comment. It's a timely comment from Ryan.
yeah,
Is NAC and NRS updates or edits enforceable at the time? So they're enforceable as of that effective date. So some things say takes effect upon governor's signature. Some say October 1st of this year if the governor doesn't sign something sooner. Some are first of the calendar year. That's rare that they start first of the following calendar year. But if it affects you, you need to read that statute because it is upon effective date. So that's why we stress them here. That's why we put them on our website. We try to get the word out because frankly, sometimes they do change and you don't know it. And so we try to advertise that on behalf of the legislature because they don't. I mean, they put it on their website when there's a committee meeting, and that's about it. You're not going to get noticed any other way. So, so I appreciate the comment, but it is specific to the effective date to answer that question.
and Ed's going to show a slide here, a couple slides ahead for one example that actually.
Okay. And this is now old news, but Senate Bill 78 was proposed to roll up all boards and commissions under business and industry and potentially eliminate some of the current staff and roll it all up to a state employee under the I guess it would be called efficiency, right? Put them all, less overhead. As a reminder, we're not part of the state budget. Your dues pay 100% of our costs. So we're very sensitive to your renewal fees and your dues. And we've streamlined business practices everywhere we could. This didn't pass, but there is already a bill draft for the next legislative session about combining committees and boards. So if you have an opinion about that, I mean, I'm uncomfortable. This is not my opinion as an employee. This is my opinion as a licensed engineer. I would rather have licensed engineers and surveyors review my work if there's a problem than someone who also takes care of potentially veterinarian boards and cosmetology and gaming control. There are a lot of boards and commissions, and they all require specific technical knowledge and insight. And I would rather have an engineer and a surveyor look at my work than someone else that may have transferred into that job because it was a good opportunity. So I'll leave that, dangling there. Because we're appointees, our board is appointees of the governor, so we can't fight with the governor. But as an engineer, I don't like it. So, and then
the disclaimer should be that Ed's comments and opinions do not reflect the views of the board, or something like that.
Or the governor's staff.
Or the governor's staff.
So yeah, I can have my own opinion as an engineer. And
exactly.
I'm the only one with a hot mic right now. So anyway, Assembly Bill 270. This was something that came out of industry and looking at other states. We must get a degree and 4 years experience in 2000. And but there were a lot of people that were working and they had not taken the fundamentals exam all those years before. And it said 15 years experience to go to the professional engineering exam. That's now 10 years across the board. let's see. And then there was some obsolete language that's been changed by NCEES. Most of the exams are on demand now. It used to say twice a year, and you had to go to a testing center, and most of them are administered online and are available almost year round. All right, time for questions and answers.
Sorry, I just wanted to make one
Or loose
comment
questions.
on that
Yes.
previous slide, Ed.
Yep.
That's an example of a the assembly AB 270 went into effect October 1st, I believe, right?
Yes, you're right.
And
You're
that's
right.
that one was a big deal because it shortened the time to licensure if you didn't pass the PE, and it gets a little bit specific on
No, if you didn't take the
on the
fundamentals,
FE,
but you
right.
want to take the PE, right?
Right.
Right.
Anyway,
We literally had applicants and we said, just apply after October 1st and you'll be approved.
right.
Um,
So that's the effective date. That's an example of
Yes,
when
no,
does it
good
go
point.
into effect? So
all right. Okay. We've got about 10 minutes left. If you've got a question, email Derek.
yeah, I said, why didn't I change that? I should have said, don't put it in the chat. I was trying to direct everybody to the email just because I can get you a better answer and I have more time.
Yeah.
So just take note of my email. It's on the website as well. You feel free to send me any questions that you have as well. Although I've kept track of a few questions that
Okay.
have been in the chat that I think we have time to answer a couple of. George asks, and one of the first questions we got asked was, how many PLSs are there? And I wasn't sure if you meant Nevada PLSs, like just state resident PLSs, or
I think he means in this session.
global. Yeah. So, yeah, he's
George said thumbs up.
Yeah.
We don't know, George. Yeah, I didn't see a response, but I can tell you globally, we've got 16,000 registrants, give or take. About 3,000, almost 3,000 registrants, both engineers and surveyors, live in Nevada. So we've got about 13,000 that are out of state. And of those in Nevada, there's like 600 registered surveyors.
I think it's more than that, but it's,
That live in Nevada?
Yeah, I thought it was closer to 700, but yeah, I mean, it's.
Okay, 700. And then of all registrants, the civil engineers dominate. If we were a football team, we would be national champions because 57% are civil registrants. So they're over half of all registrants. And actually, we might not win. We would just have the biggest team. But anyway, and then all those others are much smaller numbers. Good question, but we don't keep track of it that way for admission to the seminar.
Yeah.
But we're always interested because
George,
the surveyors are unknown.
Yeah, if you'd like right. If you'd like a specific number, send me the email and I'll look it up for you. We do keep track of licensees totals. So, another question, cybersecurity. JXM4 asks the cybersecurity, and I don't remember the specifics of the question, but the cybersecurity count for PDH credit. Ed, does that ring a bell to you?
That's a depends on, right? So if this is key to your work and you can describe why you're there and that it's key to protecting your intellectual property and your digital signatures, I would say yes. Because there is an effort to have, say, a company standard that everyone is securing documents the same way and that we're saving them a certain way and that we're, when we apply our digital seals, we're doing it correctly. So I would argue yes, because we have seen the bootleg copies and we're like, somebody found a copy of this somewhere and copied your information and it got reused. So I would say yes, that is probably appropriate in many, many, many cases.
Yeah.
And we had a question about other states.
Yeah.
So if you're licensed in multiple states, this is from Beatrice.
Yeah.
If another state requires 24, can that count towards the 30? So the answer is most likely. So if that state has similar requirement that you need professional development hours that further your career and your understanding and your knowledge, the first 24, yes, you don't need to get 54 to satisfy the two states. If your home state is Nevada, one of the things I didn't mention, if your living address is in another state, we will take you out of the audit list. If you have a license in Nevada, but you live in Illinois, we're going to presume Illinois, you submitted to Illinois as well. And if you're audited, you'll report to Illinois because you'll need to know Illinois law and ethics as well. And when we go through the ethics class, we identify all the other states that have ethics requirements and that sort of thing. So there is some overlap, and I don't expect you to do everything twice, Beatrice. So that's a good question. If you're licensed in multiple states,
Substantially equivalent is the term that
yes,
we
as
use.
long as they're substantially equivalent. So most of those hours would be the same. If they had 2 hours on, Idaho law, that's not going to do you any good in Nevada. So other than that, you'd have to take the 1 hour on Nevada law, but the rest, in theory, would count.
I had a couple other ones here. Is there a limit on technical PDH hours? And I don't think there is.
No,
Ed, do you know?
they
I
can
don't.
be all
Yeah.
technical,
Yeah.
and then just the law and the ethics are the only things that don't have to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kat Price had a good question. From an earlier slide, if a contract does not include a schedule showing time or sequence of the work, is it considered void? I wouldn't consider it void. I would consider it in violation of NAC. But if you signed it and the client signed it, and it would become a point I would point out, right? It would be a reminder more than a reason for discipline on its own. So I stress it because it's only 4 elements, and quite often we see contracts that are missing one or two of those elements, for simple jobs. So it doesn't make, I mean, I'm not an attorney, and that would have to be tested by the court to say it's null and void, but it is a matter that then it does not add any clarity, right? If it doesn't have a schedule and someone complains it takes too long, we can argue about how long is too long because there's no dates. That cuts both ways if both of you have signed that agreement. So I wouldn't say it's void, it's flawed. But you still have a signed contract.
Hey, Ed, would you flick it to the next slide real quick, and then we'll hold
Oh,
on
yes,
on
of
the
course.
certificate slide. And I don't mean to cut everybody off, but I do want to keep you
Okay, real
get
quick.
you back to work. But I was just going to say, this is our continuing education page where you will find the recordings of all of our webinars. It will live here. The links to the videos. So if for whatever reason somebody was unable to attend that direct them to this page on our website, and they can watch the video and get the full credit for it
Yes.
there.
All right.
And then the next slide is these. I wanted to hold on that one just to give people an opportunity to do a screen capture.
There you
if
go.
they need to.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the certificate of completion. It's not fancy. I tried to make it look like a certificate for those that need to have one, but like we
Suitable
talked
for
about-
framing.
There you go. It'll do the job, right? So you can keep a copy of that, do a screen grab of that and put it in your files. Or if you'd like, send me an email and I will mail you a PDF of this certificate. And that'll do
And
the
if you
same.
want an autographed one, just make a request to Derek and we'll see what we can do.
There you
I'm
go.
kidding.
Yes.
You don't need an autographed one.
Mhm.
So
One last
everybody know
thing.
how to do a screen grab. You have that in here. If you're on a Mac, do Shift Command 3, the
Mhm.
Shift in the Command key and a 3, and you can grab that, paste it somewhere and print it. If you're on a PC, it's Shift and the little Windows key, the thing that looks like the squares or the waving flag, depending on your keyboard, Shift and Windows, and an S for screen,
Sam.
and then paste that in Word or something, save it as a PDF, print it out,
Yeah.
show all your friends. I mean, you can show off.
Yeah. The last thing that I was going to say, and I think you reminded me earlier, Ed, I am also responsible for social media. We post information like this, like the webinars. We send social posts out. We try to make it entertaining and informative. So follow us on all the platforms if you would. We do use it for informational purposes, we don't show pictures of our cat or what we had for breakfast. It will be relevant to engineering and land surveying. So,
And I got one other question, and I want to mention this. We're at the thank yous. Thanks for coming. Sam, Sam Luter said, will there be an online lookup tool for engineering firm registration? Great question. Yes, we were in the final work. Derek's been working for a year on your registration page is being updated and the firm registration you'll be able to do lookups because right now you have to call board staff to do firm lookups. We can see it all, but you can't. So that's being improved as we speak. And as soon as it's done, it'll be posted, and updated on our website so you can do the lookups. So great question, Sam. I appreciate that softball.
Hang tight, Sam, early next year.
Which is only 40 days away.
That's
so
correct.
45.
That's correct.
So with that, we are at 1 hour. If you've got any other burning questions, put them in the chat in the next 30 seconds or
actually, no, just send me an email. I'll get you.
Send Derek an email. Yeah, and we can follow up. And I appreciate the kind comments online.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Dave and Noel. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time. And reminder,
hopefully
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow for ethics.
Tomorrow's ethics. So maybe we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks.